Now joining me more with reaction, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise, along with Fox News contributor Ari Fleischer. Ari, let me start with you, and I want you to stand back. This is what you do so well, and through the prism of 2022 and 2024 and the politics involved here, your take how the American people are going to perceive and take this and what the net outcome would be. I see a huge upside politically, downside for the country, but an upside for Republicans to lay out an affirmative agenda, what they will do to keep this country strong, protected, great, and for opportunity for all.
And to draw a line about the woke movement that is increasingly growing and problematic for Americans who have any type of traditional values, which I think is an awful large part of America. But the biggest issue, Sean, going forward is going to be the economy. How is the economy doing? Is it growing? Are people getting jobs? Or are we returning to what we had during the Obama-Biden years, which was low growth and low wages? And what I find so distressing about Joe Biden is he has reversed so many of the policies that led to a blue-collar, working-class boom in America. You know, Donald Trump, prior to the pandemic, led an economy where the poverty rate was the lowest since 1959. Child poverty was dropping. Poverty for women was dropping. Unemployment for Hispanics and blacks dropped. Wages up for low-income and middle-income people, even more than for upper-income people. This is what we wanted in America, and Joe Biden is doing everything in his power to reverse economic growth, reverse security at the border, and reverse security abroad. Look what's happening in Israel. These are the worrisome things I see, but it still is going to come back to the economy fundamentally.
Yeah, and by the way, there are virulent anti-Semites in the Democratic caucus, and not a peep out of Joe, Nancy, or Chuck, Ari. Not one word to condemn virulent anti-Semitism. Congressman, if Republicans are running for office and they can't communicate this, and I'll let Ari grade me after this if he wants, if they can't communicate that the Republican Party is the party of liberty, freedom, and capitalism in our Constitution, that including the First and Second Amendment, that they believe in lower taxes, less interference from the government, bureaucratic regulation, etc., that they want energy independence, secure borders, constitutionalists on the bench, law and order, safety and security, choice in schools, health care, free market solutions, protecting pre-existing conditions, free and fair trade, and they want peace through strength and a kick-ass military. If they can't communicate that in a minute, how can they run for office?
Well, clearly, Sean, those are all the things that we're going to be running on next year, but also it's the contrast, because right now, if you look at all the crises that Joe Biden is facing, and most of them are self-created, by the way, what we're seeing is President Biden's crisis of weakness, because he's shown weakness, because he's turned over assets, turning down the Keystone Pipeline. It wasn't just the thousands of good jobs, it was energy security. And as Donald Trump Jr. talked about earlier, I mean, these lines at the pump are real. The higher prices are real. Families are seeing that. You look at what's happening in the Middle East. And again, it's not just the thousands of missiles that are being fired through Gaza. By the way, Hamas is behind this. Iran is behind this. Joe Biden spent more time trying to help Iran get a nuclear weapon in his first 120 days than he has standing behind Israel and standing up to the anti-Semites in the House who have been criticizing Israel these last 7 days. Just look at some of the Democrat leaders in the House who have been criticizing Israel during this turmoil. And it's on every front. The crisis at the border is very real, and it was self-created because President Biden is literally got rid of those policies that were working just because he didn't like Donald Trump. Trump had negotiated that deal with Mexico to finally have Mexico not only controlling our southern border, but Mexico's southern border. You can go down the list. Inflation is through the roof right now. Families are realizing right now that Biden cost to them in their pocketbooks when they're paying more for lumber, when they're paying more for food at the grocery store. It's all across the board. People are fed up. That's one of the reasons we're going to win the House back next year.
Ari, am I missing anything with the list I had? You can grade me. I don't care, even if it's an F, whatever you think.
I would just sum it up simply, Sean, and say what we had was a middle-class boom, and it's turning into middle-class doom. And that's the choice that people face going forward. And you know, you put things in terms that people can relate to, understand, but boy, this Republican Party is becoming a party that focuses on working class, middle-income people, while the Democrats are turning into the party representing the rich.
They are
Sean,
the party
Biden's
of
grade is
coastal
W
elites.
for weakness.
What, Steve?
Biden's grade is W for weakness.
All right. Thank you.
Well, let's
Congressman.
not
Appreciate
throw the
it.
word W around too easily here. I kind of like that.
You're a little biased on that area.
Gotcha.
All right. I got it. All right. Thank you both.